Hello and welcome to Good Life, the health show with me, Pooja. Well, this is a show that focuses on providing you with solutions to your health-related issues, lifestyle and much more. Well, viewers, many children and teenagers spend a lot of time on social media, video games and other activities on screens. Well, spending a lot of time online becomes a problem when it interferes with a child's ability to have a normal life. Social media and games are very stimulating to kids' brains, and technology negatively impacts kids if they spend so much time on screens that they skip eating, sleeping, doing their homework or spending time with friends and families. Now, research suggests that heavy social media use can also be a risk factor for anxiety and depression in teenagers. So, to discuss on internet addiction disorders, we are being joined today by Dr. Pranjal Sharma, consultant psychiatrist. All right, so not to waste any more time, I'll straight away move to him and talk more on the topic which we have taken today. All right, thank you so much, Doctor, for joining to Good Life, the health show. So, today the topic which we have taken is, of course, a talk of the town. Internet addiction amongst everybody. If I talk about myself also, I'm also very much addicted to internet. If I need to find out something, if I need to search something, I will straight away take my phone and look for things. Now, if we talk about what is internet addiction disorder, doctor, what would be that?
Okay. First of all, thank you, Pooja, for having me in your show. So, definitely, internet and technology based on internet have become a way of life at the present time. Like it has actually brought the entire world in our fingertips because of the services that internet can provide us just in a fraction of seconds. Now, when we talk about internet or internet related addictions, basically, here we basically focus on the non-essential use of internet or the non-productive use of internet, which is mostly related to gaming, which is mostly related to social media, which is mostly related to any internet recreational activities and other forms of internet that is there. So, how to say it's an internet dependence is basically when the person is spending too much of time, the person is spending almost a significant amount of the day involving or engrossing in internet activities, and because of which the person is gradually getting away from the daily activities of life. Like probably if we consider a child or a children who is in a school going age, and the child is mostly engrossed in internet activities, playing games or surfing any other internet related things. So, he's spending more time and then he is not able to give time to his studies, he is not able to give time for his sleep or his daily habits.
The lifestyle gets
Lifestyles get disbalanced. At the same time, the social activities of the child, like going out and playing with friends or like mingling with other peers, this also gradually goes down as the person is mostly involved in activities and all. So, this also leads to kind of a social isolation. The person also begins to become isolated from the like social life. The other thing is with prolonged use, like when the child keep on using the internet for a prolonged period of time, and then suddenly if there is a reason because of which the child is not able to access the internet, so there some kind of psychological forms of withdrawal symptoms also appear. So, which may be like the child may be very irritable, or the child may be very depressed, anxious, sad, and not able to like focus in his work because he's not able to access. At the same time, like there may be a lot of temper tantrums because he's not being able to access the internet. So that is one another thing. Like even though there are no physical withdrawal symptoms, but definitely a lot of psychological withdrawal symptoms do come. The third thing is the negative consequences that we are talking, and a tolerance develop. Like when a child starts using a gadget, an internet which is based on internet, any form of gadget. So initially the child will be using it for few days, like few hours in a day, and then gradually the child will start feel the need of using it for a more and more duration of time, more and more duration of time. Along with that, it will start increasing the need for it. The child will feel the need for more sophisticated gadgets, more requirement of faster internet, more requirements of any special kind of tools or apps that are available. for playing games or any other internet related activities. So overall, like there are four, what if we just sum it up, it is like the four primary things which we can actually say the person is probably getting a dependence. Is
Okay.
firstly is that the child is using excessive amount of time is being invested in the behavior of using internet. Secondly, there will be like psychological withdrawal symptoms. Thirdly, the child develops tolerance to the use of internet, and there is more and more requirement of internet related activities. And fourthly, the negative consequences that like there is impairment in the child's education, there is impairment in his social life, even the interpersonal communications with parents and everything also gradually gets hampered.
Okay.
So these are the primary four things which basically indicates that the probably child is having kind of a dependence to the use of internet.
Now, doctor, when is the right time to see a physician or an expert? Like if a parents will have to see those kind of signs and symptoms in their children or any of the person at home, that this is leading, the internet usage is leading to a kind of disorder, which some of the basic signs and symptoms you have already mentioned, that if there is a stop in internet or something happens.
Right.
So what would be those basic symptoms that an assurance or an awareness has to be created among the people?
So, just now, like we have discussed, like I would rather like to ask the parents to be vigilant about it, like because in a clinical setting, we definitely have some screening tools or other instruments from which we can apply and we can understand, like if the child is having any form of dependence to the internet. But in a normal setting, at home setting, it is very important that the parents should be monitoring how the child is using his internet devices, may it be a laptop, may it be a computer or a mobile phone, and should be very vigilant about the type of internet use. Like if the child is using a gadget, the parents should be vigilant and monitor about like what kind of the child is using internet for what kind of things.
Or a time frame or a routine can be set up for them.
Yeah, definitely. And just monitor about the time also, like if the time that the child is using internet is like hampering his basic activities, like he's not eating food on time, he's not sleeping or he's awake late at night using the computer and the devices, and then his work mostly related to studies and any other work, if it is getting hampered, then definitely that parents should consider it to have a consultation with with a psychiatrist or a psychologist related to the internet use behavior of their child.
Okay. Now, doctor, which is the age group we are talking about who are mostly vulnerable to these kind of addictions?
See, as such, like since internet is something which is being accessed by all class of people, like it's like very easily accessible by any class of people. So vulnerability, definitely there is no one is immune to this system. Like if someone uses internet for an extensive period of time, might develop dependence. But what is important, like whatever the research or whatever the studies that we have come across, mostly the child and the adolescent group, that ranging from around like 12 years of age to around 20 years of age. That is the primary age group which is getting affected because of the pathological use of internet, basically.
Okay. And basically, we have also seen that this is a problem which is not only seen in the urban areas, but also in the rural areas as well, because of the providers giving a lot of facilities for the intake of data or the use of data in a very minimal amount. So use of internet can be seen in everywhere. Now, if we talk about a common, like how common is this problem in our society? What would you like to tell? You have been gone through many cases as such.
Right. Internet addiction as such has not come across as an official diagnostic category in any of diagnostic guidelines. But definitely, whatever studies we had that have come across, it is mostly related to the child from the age group of 12 to 20, which is mainly affected by the child affected by the use of internet. And if you ask for percentage as such, there is no precise percentage about it, but then most of the studies shows in Indian context, it is mostly around like 3 to 4%, like every 3 or 4 children out of 100 is affected with this internet related problem.
Okay. Now, a lot of like awareness are being given in schools as well. Now, what we have seen is that during this past COVID pandemic days, online classes were held, and for which students or the children were more prone to internet usage. So, has that also become a reason why the children are more prone to internet addiction nowadays?
Definitely. That might be one of the reasons, because the COVID pandemic had actually broke the camel's hump. So, and there was like, it has magnified the use of internet to a next level. Like, so for not only just for school going children, like in
But
all
everybody.
all aspects of life. So therefore, the the accessibility to internet has definitely increased, and children's being not able to understand the negative consequences of using internet for a prolonged period of time might be a reason that they have been more affected because of this.
Okay. Now, negative impact. Now, what are those risk factors of internet addiction, doctor?
So the first risk factor, what I would like to emphasize is, when a child at a very young age, if the child is getting exposed to internet and internet related any kind of services, and that is coupled with a very poor parental monitoring and parental control. So that
Okay.
is the major risk factor which is probably contributing to the development of this internet as a behavioral disorder at present. Secondly, the family environment in which the child is growing. So how the parents communicate with each other, how the parents communicate with their child, how they express their emotions. Do they do they have the habit of sitting and talking and listening to one another, helping out each other in their problems? So this family dynamics is very important. Like, the third thing is like, the child or even adolescents, there are certain temperament or personality traits are there.
Absolutely.
So which basically makes the person more prone for developing some kind of addictions, any form of addictions, even including internet addictions. So child who are having like low self confidence, child who have poor communication skills, and these childs are, or this category, these traits, this personality and temperament traits may be contributing to the development of, again, addiction.
Okay.
And lastly is, if a family the family itself having some kind of psychological disorder, and the child by itself is having some form of psychological disorders, that may also make the child prone for developing internet addiction.
Okay, so that we are talking in a very extreme case.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So most of the research have also shown, like, the child who is having this internet addiction problem, they are also having comorbid other psychiatric illnesses.
Okay.
Out of which almost like around approximately 80 to 90% of the children do have features of ADHD, which is called as attention deficit hyperactive disorder, and around like 50 to 60% of children do have depression and anxiety related issues, phobias. So these are also associated with
Okay.
comorbid conditions, and OCD is very specifically OCD, because use of internet can also be a compulsive behavior.
Okay.
So a child who is having an obsessional traits, obsessional behavior, might compulsively use internet as a way to deal with the stress and all.
All right, Doctor, we'll talk more on that. We will also relate this two kind of terms with the internet addiction, but we'll have to take a break.
Sure.
All right, viewers, we'll slip into a short break, but do come back soon because we have lots more on the other side. Welcome back, viewers. You're still watching Good Life, the Health Show with me, Pooja, and we are having a fruitful discussion on internet addiction disorder. Now, Doctor, coming back to you again, you touched the topic of ADHD. Now, how is internet addiction related with ADHD or like OCD? What you would like to tell on that?
See, basically ADHD is a developmental condition. So what happens is, in a child who is having ADHD, the primary disorder or primary component of dysfunction is the deficit in attention and concentration, and which is also coupled with activities or hyperactivity. It is not like a rule of thumb that if there is attention deficit, there will be hyperactivity.
Okay.
So there may be instances where the child is only having attention deficit but not hyperactivity, and similarly the child may have only hyperactivity but not attention deficit. Now these childs, they struggle to basically focus on, things which are very systematic, things which are very disciplined, things which needs very strict ways to follow. So they have a very poor attention span, and they have poor ability to relate and coordinate things when it is very in a structured way. So when it comes to games or when it comes to the use of internet and it, so this is something which excites the child a lot. So they are able to like focus more attention, more time. So in this, when they are playing a game, so that is why like probably they start developing a more they start forming a association, and they start getting addicted to it, like more and more, and they find exciting, and they're able to more focus on those kind of games, and probably that's why like they keep on they keep on using this thing again and again. Like.
Okay. Now, doctor, like if anybody comes and visits you, or any of the physician, like with the problem, what is the first thing, if we talk about the diagnosis part,
Right.
what is the first thing, how does the counseling start, what is the steps? Please brief us.
See, any parent or any child who comes to our clinic with related to internet use or addiction, with mostly with mobile games, and that
Does
is
they
something.
actually come with internet addiction problems?
It is very difficult to say, but
Or do they come with some other problem and you diagnose them, that you take the history and then you come to know?
It's like both the thing happens.
Okay.
Like most of the time, the parents they do come with the complaint, like the child is using the laptop or the mobile or the computer for an extended period of time, and it's causing him impairment in his studies and other like activities. So that do come. And sometimes again the child is also presented with some other features of depression or anxiety, and then it is found that the child is basically using the internet use as a coping strategy to with the anxiety or the stress that is going on. So it's a bi-directional thing. Like sometimes anxiety, depression is managed by using internet as a coping strategy, and sometimes internet itself leads to.
So internet is working as a medicine for the person?
At
Probably
a
for
certain
him.
point of time, yeah. And so when we assess the child, we assess basically in 3 parameters. So the first parameter is basically the type of internet use. Like what kind of, is it an essential use, it is a non-essential use. If it is a non-essential use, how much time the child is investing in it.
Okay.
And like, is it causing an impairment in the functionality? Is there any very strong urge to use the internet again and again? Like even if the child sometimes tries to control it, but the child is not able to overcome it. So that urge is very very strong. The child might say that okay, I'll not use it from today, but the child is not able to control that emotions and that urge. So that is one thing on the type of internet use, how the child is using, how much time the child is spending, and what are the areas that are getting impaired because of the internet use. And like I said previously, the content of the internet, like what the child is he using in gaming, gambling, pornography, any other social media, or what kind of like
is it in a productive way or
productive
in a
and non-productive way. The second thing we assess is basically the comorbidities. Right now we have discussed about it, like what comorbidities usually there are a lot of comorbidities associated with the child. So when there is a when we evaluate for comorbidities, there is a detailed pro forma of history, like how the child has evolved or how the behavior has evolved. And starting from the development of the child, like everything needs to be evaluated, the family dynamics needs to be evaluated. If the child has experienced any trauma, childhood trauma, and everything has to be also evaluated, because these all are related, like a child having anxiety disorder, depression, so the childhood history has to be evaluated very thoroughly. And lastly, the other thing is like what the impairments have occurred because of the internet use, or how the impairment is evolving over a period of time. So that is, these 3 parameters are very important that we need to evaluate.
So when the counseling starts, what is the first thing, or how steps, you have a team of doctors maybe, so how does the thing work? Do you, at first juncture, you tell the parents to do some things at home, the tips which you give to the parents, or the counseling starts at the hospital itself?
So it depends on, see, when we approach a case of suppose probably we're diagnosing a case of internet DD. If it is diagnosed, then definitely the first step is the parental educations.
Parental
So
education.
parent is very important. The role of parent is very important in certain cases. In this case, definitely the role of parent is very important because the parent should understand, what is the safe use of internet. The parent should have a good amount of knowledge about what is safe internet use. Secondly, also it is important, like the parents should also understand, like the behavior modification process is not a one day process. If the child has been using this internet or the gadgets for like 5-6 years, and now the child has come to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, it doesn't switch in just one day. So it's a very gradual process,
Gradual.
and there are a lot of rewards, reinforcements required for a child. So whenever the child is behaving the way he is expected to do, so there should be a lot of positive rewards should be given. The child should be given warmth, love, etc. And
And a friendly environment is also,
Very
so that
fair.
the child never hides everything
Right.
and can speak easily to their parents, which is actually not happening these days.
Exactly. So even this is just about the the understanding that parents should have. Also, their expressed emotions. So someday it's like very common nowadays. Like when parents are busy, they will give the child with the mobile or any other laptop. They will allow the child to use it. But when the parents are free, they are not working. So they will be like scolding, shouting the child about like why using the mobile all throughout the day and all. So this is a very inconsistent behavior. So this should not be. It should be very consistent, and the emotional expression to the child should be very positive way. It should
Okay.
not be like criticizing or showing hostility to the child. It's not going to work basically. The second thing is it is very important that the parents should also monitor and how the child is using the internet. Since because now it is not now at current state, like every children will have to use internet because of their academics and everything. But it is important that the parents should understand and monitor the use. That is one thing. And the recreational use of internet. Usually it is advised that the recreational use of internet should be less than 1 hour per day and probably less than 20 minutes in one time or one session.
One session.
Right.
Okay.
And there should be a weekly detox. Weekly detox meaning like the child should not be allowed to use any form of internet for 24 hours in a week. In a week for 24 hours, he should be like not using any form of gadgets or anything. That is a weekly detox should be done. And if the child is on therapy or something, there should be a logbook that should be maintained by the parents, like how the behavior started and what therapy is and how the child is progressing on it. What are the difficulties that the child is facing when doing so, and that should be regularly follow up with the psychiatrist or the psychologist, and then find a way to that.
Okay. So, Doctor, we are really short of time. So, what tips you would like to give to our viewers who are watching our show, how to maintain these things, and especially the parents who are watching our show?
See, the first thing is that using internet or internet-related services is totally unavoidable at this point of time. So, we cannot say that we will be working without totally stopping internet use for any person at this point of time. So, what is important is to be very vigilant about how the internet is used by the child, how it is like for how long the child is using. So the duration is one thing should be monitoring. The type of internet use should be monitored, and if it is causing any form of impairment in the basic activities, that should be monitored. It should be also monitored, like if the child is having, the child is not able to function in his academics, in his social life, in his like peer groups and all. That things should be monitored very.
And the most important,
vigilantly.
parents should give more time to their children.
Definitely.
Isn't
Definitely.
it? Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining to Good
Thank you.
Life, the Health Show.
Thank you
And
so much.
well, viewers, with this, we have come to the end of the show, and we hope that we were able to answer all your queries in the best possible way. In our next episode, we will be discussing on some other important health issues. Till then, stay healthy, stay fit, and keep watching Northeast Live. Goodbye.